Hamjambo wanachama wenzangu wa Maisha Bora Sacco. Natumai mubuheri wa afya pamoja na familia zenu. Kwa muda wa wiki zilizopita, najua umeweza kusikia kuhusu mfumo unaopendekezwa wa wajumbe, yani Delegate System. Ningependa kuwahimiza mtenge muda wenu ili msome na kuelewa zaidi kuhusu mfumo huu wa uongozi. Bodi ya Maisha Bora Sacco pamoja na Wizara wa Vyama vya Ushirika imetilia maanani haya mabadiliko ya mfumo wa uongozi. Lengo kuu ikiwa uongozi bora, uwakilishi wa haki na kujitayarisha kwa ukuaji wa Sacco yetu katika siku zijazo. Kumbuka, pendekezo hili ni lenyu nyinyi wanachama. Bado hatujafanya uamuzi wowote. Ndio maana tunakusihi usome nyaraka husika na ushiriki katika vikao vya uhamasishaji, na usisalie kimya, bali uliza maswali na utoe maoni yako kupitia barua pepe ya delegatesystem@maishaborasacco.com. Kila maoni yatapokelewa na kufanyiwa tathmini kabla ya mapendekezo kuwasilishwa kwenu wanachama. Mwisho, ninataka kuwakaribisha kwa moyo mkunjufu kushiriki katika mkutano mkuu maalum, yani SGM, ambapo wanachama wataamua kupitisha mfumo unaopendekezwa wa wajumbe pamoja na ajenda nyingine zitakazojadiliwa siku hiyo. Asante kwa kuendelea kuamini Maisha Bora Sacco. Pamoja tuijenge na tuinue Sacco yetu. Hamjambo, fellow members of Maisha Bora Sacco. Hope you and your families are doing well. Over the past few weeks, you may have received information about the proposed delegate system. I would like to encourage you to take a few minutes to review and understand more on this governance system. The board, together with the Ministry of Cooperatives, is proposing this governance review because our membership has continued to grow and we want to ensure that we remain well governed, properly represented, and fully prepared for future growth. Please note, no decision has yet been made. This proposal belongs to you, our members. That is why we are inviting you to read the documents, participate in engagement sessions, ask questions, and share your views. You can send your comments to delegatesystem@maishaborasacco.com. Every comment will be reviewed before the final proposal is presented to members. Finally, I warmly invite you to participate in the upcoming special general meeting, where members will decide to adopt the proposed delegate system among other deliberations. Thank you for your continued trust in Maisha Bora Sacco. Together, let us shape the future of our society. Hamjambo, fellow members of Maisha Bora Sacco. Hope you and your families are doing well. Over the past few weeks, you may have received information about the proposed delegate system. I would like to encourage you to take a few minutes to review and understand more on this governance system. The board, together with the Ministry of Cooperatives, is proposing this governance review because our membership has continued to grow and we want to ensure that we remain well governed, properly represented, and fully prepared for future growth. Please note, no decision has yet been made. This proposal belongs to you, our members. That is why we are inviting you to read the documents, participate in engagement sessions, ask questions, and share your views. You can send your comments to delegatesystem@maishaborasacco.com. Every comment will be reviewed before the final proposal is presented to members. Finally, I warmly invite you to participate in the upcoming special general meeting, where members will decide to adopt the proposed delegate system among other deliberations. Thank you for your continued trust in Maisha Bora Sacco. Together, let us shape the future of our society. Hamjambo, fellow members of Maisha Bora Sacco. Hope you and your families are doing well. Over the past few weeks, you may have received information about the proposed delegate system. I would like to encourage you to take a few minutes to review and understand more on this governance system. The board, together with the Ministry of Cooperatives, is proposing this governance review because our membership has Hamjambo, fellow members of Maisha Bora Sacco. Hope you and your families are doing well. Over the past few weeks, you may have received information about the proposed delegate system. I would like to encourage you to take a few minutes to review and understand more on this governance system. The board, together with the Ministry of Cooperatives, is proposing this governance review because our membership has continued to grow and we want to ensure that we remain well governed, properly represented, and fully prepared for future growth. Please note, no decision has yet been made. This proposal belongs to you, our members. That is why we are inviting you to read the documents, participate in engagement sessions, ask questions, and share your views. You can send your comments to delegatesystem@maishaborasacco.com. Every comment will be reviewed before the final proposal is presented to members. Finally, I warmly invite you to participate in the upcoming special general meeting, where members will decide to adopt the proposed delegate system among other deliberations. Thank you for your continued trust in Maisha Bora Sacco. Together, let us shape the future of our society. Excited to host you this evening just to discuss on this matter that we're calling the delegate system. With me here is Mr. George Wafula. Perhaps you can say hi. And I'm also with the CEO. And the one who will be taking us through the presentation will be Mr. Joseph Kiando. Perhaps you can say hi, Joseph.
Hi, good evening, members.
Good evening, Joseph. And of course, we have other directors on the line. That is, I can see Marianne Karanja is on the line. Marianne, perhaps you can say hello. Okay, challenges with the connectivity. But all in all, as we continue progressing, they'll get a chance to address you or maybe share a word or two. Now, today, I think this has been part of a series of discussions where we're trying to demystify this delegate system that Maisha Bora is proposing to roll out with among the membership. Just to give you a chronology, Sometime back around October last year, we were given a directive by the Cooperative Commissioner that all SACCOs which have about 5,000 members and above should transform and adapt the delegate form of governance. And within that net being cast, Maisha Bora was one of the SACCOs which were falling within that directive. So as a responsible board, we saw that we needed to automatically transform to and adapt and go by the commissioner's directive. However, the mistake that I feel that we did as a board is that we never really demystified the delegate governance system. Rather, we thought it as a good system and promoted it as a system which will work for us without even getting feedback from you, our members. We did it at the SGM and members outrightly disagreed. We were given 3 options, where 1 was to seek an extension, 2, go and try and seek an exemption,
Recording
2,
in
seek
progress.
an extension so that we adapt the delegate system, or 3, we can seek legal redress. Of all those 3 options, the one which looked like was viable was to seek an exemption, thereafter go seek an extension. However, the commissioner said that we can only get an extension, and from that is where now we came to the AGM and told you about the new delegate system. Again, members were like, we need to demystify it much more, and you need to understand it so that we are adapting something where from a point of knowledge. So through and through, we've been engaging with some members, core groups, the way we are proposed to cluster it, and in the same spirit of now trying to engage. There is this special group which is very dear for us, which is the SME category. The SME category are basically the members who have actually transitioned from maybe a check-off system, like for example, if you are ex-Unilever or you're working in an organization where we have an MOU, that is MATA and the likes, and now you're actually just a regular member of the Sacco. So this group is a special cohort for us because 1, you are the majority within the Sacco, and 2, you form quite a critical mass and a critical weight in as far as decisions are involved in this particular Sacco, and you actually hold the bulk of the investment of this Sacco. So without much ado, I'd like to invite Mr. Joseph Kiando to take us through the delegate governance system, the presentation that they've sat through via the education committee, so that at least we try to understand it, and then thereafter we'll open the floor for questions and deliberations, and to see how well we can structure this and maybe come to a consensus, so that when we get to the SGM, we are discussing from an informed point of view. Thank you. So, Bwana Joseph Kiando, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Members, we thank you for having time to attend this session to discuss the transformative step of our Sacco. We will discuss what the delegate system of governance is, but as we already Chair has said, the final decision is on members. So the Chair has given the background, so I don't want to repeat why we went into it, but I will go straight to what the governance system is. Our membership at the moment stand at 17,000 with savings of 7.2 billion. And the government requirement was any Sacco with more than 5,000 membership would transit to a delegate system with the maximum delegates being 500. We have done some benchmarking across the industry, some members who are bigger than us, some Saccos that are bigger than us, and also Saccos that are close to us, and some which are lower than us. And most of the Saccos have moved to this system, except around 5 Saccos in the whole country, and among the 5 we are there. So this session is to bring forward what the delegate system is, what is the criteria for selection of delegates, and then the members will take an opinion. So it's an education forum. And after this, then the AGM, which will have some time next month, will then decide on the way to go. So when you look at Maisha Bora, 17,007.2, we are therefore proposing a transition, which we'll go through. And then Amika Sacco has over 200,000 members with a share asset base of 10.78, and they already are in the ADM system. And Dimco Sacco with 39, they also have moved since 2025. Nyati Sacco, they already have held some 3 ADMs since 2023. The next slide, we look at the evolution of our Sacco. So starting in 1974, then moving to product extension in 2010, tremendous membership growth have come through, and with the opening of the common board, and the 2020s, we are going through digital transformation. What is delegate system? So a delegate system is a system where the member does not exercise direct control of the Sacco in terms of coming for meetings, but the member will vote in the various zones representatives, and those representatives or delegates will then attend the annual general meetings of the Sacco, both the ones to pass budget and the ADM. Among the delegates, they will then select board members, and the rest of the structure, governance structure of the Sacco remains as is in terms of we will have a board of directors, which will then oversee management, day-to-day management of the cooperatives like it is currently. Why the delegate system? So additional to being a government recommended, what are the key benefits that we see for this system? One is every member in the society will be professionally presented, and the reason is each member will have an opportunity to elect a delegate from their zone, and therefore the decision will be coming through those zones to the ADMs. At current, like when we make major decisions, by the time we do, for example, voting or passing budgets, we normally have around 300 people, and those 300 people are not selected in an organized manner, meaning there are some of our members who are not represented at that time. There will be accountability in terms of leadership, because if the delegates don't perform, there will be a recall where 2/3 of membership in the electoral unit, not in the whole of the Sacco, would then meet, and they would vote out any delegate who is not representing them in adequate level or is not well enough in terms of governance. Then there is a clear pathway to leadership, which we'll see. There is efficient decision making because the delegates will be trained beforehand. They will then be able to read the documents ahead of time, prepare and receive instructions from members, after which then they will attend the ADM. So we feel there is quite high level of discussions that are going to be in this system. We will have protection or reservation of member rights. This is because if there is a big decision, for example, changing the bylaws or doing a big investment exceeding 25% of total assets, then it has to, the new system will have a way of members calling an AGM to take those big decisions. Then additionally, which is not there now, we will have some proposal that special interests, especially board people, will be represented as delegates. So we'll have some reserve seats for those. In this new system, still the member is at the core of the Sacco, with the middle being delegates, and the board still continues to oversight the Sacco. So the core principle of the Sacco with member control is retained. We will then go through the electoral zones and how the delegates will be elected. So the board proposal would be a maximum of 220. Government has provided up to 500. We don't go to the maximum in the beginning because we have to provide room for growth. Because if in the beginning we fill all the 500 and then it will be rotational, you'll have some other people qualifying and then they might not have enough space. And then we propose a 3-year term but with rotation, just like we have for the board currently. The key election rules. The candidates must be cleared from the nomination committee, and this committee will be independent, not made up of interested parties or board members. There will be one member, one vote in the electoral units. And then if in the event there is a vacancy, there will be by-elections in the specific zones, just you do like in the wards in government at the moment. Qualification criteria for delegates become key, and the proposal is based on having people who are having heavy interest in the Sacco in terms of long-term view of the Sacco, active, no loan arrears. We have some proposal of minimum deposit and minimum share capital, and the fees we would welcome comments from membership, because these decisions will be made based on the member feedback and then drafted into proposals which will be passed during the AGM that special general meeting that we will have before this is implemented. So the first one will be 5 continuous years, and within this then somebody will have quite a big heavy interest in the Sacco. Additionally, must be active, meaning not dormant, therefore contributing within the last 12 months, no arrears in the last 60 months, member of good standing, so compliant with all Sacco policies and no active disciplinary procedures or sanctions for any of the delegates applying to sit. Minimum deposit, we propose 500,000. We have continued to receive feedback, and there was a proposal of lowering this figure to 300,000, but we will get also feedback from this forum, and all those feedback then will be drafted and members will vote for them in the AGM. Minimum share capital, we keep it as where it is currently. At the moment, the share capital is 35,000 minimum for full membership, and that is also retained as criteria for delegates, because delegates need to meet the requirements of the Sacco full membership. Education and AGM attendance to show interest. So at least one session in the last 3 years is proposed as a criteria, and then the declaration, the real integrity checks will be done. So the code of conduct of the Sacco needs to be met. So the person needs to be of good standing because they're going to take care or represent members in affairs of their money. Criteria for qualification of board members is elevated, with the minimum qualification of delegates being you must have 7 continuous years of membership, good demonstration of experience in leadership, a minimum deposit proposed at 1 million. Again, here debatable, all these conditions debatable by members. And then a minimum share capital of 50,000, so is elevated compared to the delegate. And we had also proposed a minimum C+ or equivalent in KCSE. And as it is currently at a go fit and proper requirements, which is part of the cooperative rules and SASRA rules as well. We'll have additional criteria to vet the candidates or the committee will check, and this committee is not made up of, the regular committee is not made up of board members. So verification of history of deposits, so that it's a person who is quite good in terms of management of money. The second one, certificate of good conduct, assessment of leadership suitability. Clear disqualification if somebody is declared bankrupt or convicted of fraud or corruption or dishonesty, are under an active disciplinary sanction. Sacco society employees are barred or fail to meet the financial or membership requirement as will be passed by members, or fail to disclose conflicts of interest. Additional vetting and disqualification for board of directors is higher. So the first one is a valid certificate of good conduct, valid CRB clearance, declaration of wealth and conflict of interest, which is there also currently, verified governance and leadership experience, compliance with the Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Clear disqualification are similar to the delegates, which is bankruptcy, fraud, disciplinary action, the employees of the Sacco, and not meeting minimum requirements. So the duties of the delegates that then the members will select in their electoral zones will be to attend annual and special delegate meetings and vote on all matters on behalf of all members. So where the members were currently voting, then they will be represented. Member communication, that is right between the Sacco and members, providing timely feedback to resolution and key decision. Member education. So here the delegates will educate members in their zones, elect quality leaders, promote the Sacco in their zones, and member welfare. So I would like us to welcome some feedback, Chair, with that presentation. So back to you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Joseph, for the presentation. I'm seeing so many questions which are coming, or comments which are coming from the chat box. But before I react to them, perhaps the chair of the education committee, that is Marianne DC, you can say a word or two, or any point of clarity that you may need to emphasize on. So you can, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chairman, and good evening, members. So maybe I can just start by sharing a little bit around the history, just for reiteration, because some of us joined a little bit late. And yes, Orwaji, yes, we will respond to the questions. We will react to them. Thank you for the clarification. I think for us, as the chairman had stated, is that there was a directive issued from the ministry. And now they've been, because we had some consultative meetings, we've also done some benchmarking. We've said, how does one treat a directive? And where does it sit in terms of the hierarchy of the law? Because one of the things we try to do and emphasize to everyone is that how we are structured as Maisha Bora Sacco is that it's the Constitution of Kenya that is supreme. Then next to that, then insofar as our business is concerned, is a Cooperatives Act. I think it's Cap 470 or 490. And then the subsidiary regulation associated with the Cooperatives Act. Then the regulators, who in our case would be SASRA, and then there'd be any directives that come from the ministry. So that is how it comes. In some of the engagements that we had people say, where is this embedded in law? And we said, we cannot pinpoint to where it is embedded in law because how the ministry executes its mandate can be by issuing subsidiary regulation, guidelines, and directives. So in our case, we have received a directive. And then we said, so how do you deal with the directive? And we had several consultative meetings with the ministry. So I'd like to emphasize it's with the ministry and with the officials in the ministry. So it's your directors for the cooperative, the commissioner who's responsible, including the commissioner who came to the AGM, where we indicated our desire not to progress, in the AGM this year. So we've had engagements with them, and because we even had felt that we had not done sufficient engagements with members, and I have seen a question here around the fact that what is quorum? This is not a meeting. So for AGM, we have defined a quorum for the AGM. But this is a consultative meeting, and they're having several of them. We have 2 this week. We have additional consultative meetings with members. And the reason we're having the consultative meetings, and Patrick, I have seen your comment, it is not to, as the board, it is not as the board to enforce something. It is that to educate, it is important that we educate the members to say, these are the pros and cons of going through a delegate system. We will also share with you the benchmarks that we have done. I saw a question there from Purity to say, which are these circles that are yet to go delegates? I think we will answer that question and what the status of that is and what the options are. If we so decide, because the members still have a right in the SGM, you will say whether you want to go ahead or not. And if you do not want to go ahead, then what's the next step? We had the last consultative meeting with the ministry. I think it was a month ago, just over a month ago. And it is because the ministry had written to us several times to say they will not engage with us in terms of having extending this discussion any further. They wanted assurance and evidence from us that we had done engagements with members because their view of the AGM was that there was insufficient engagement. And that's why when we wrote to them and sought an extension, they granted us an extension so that we can engage members on the matter. What they told us is that we will have a definitive date by when we must have our SGM, and then a decision needs to be made. Before then, before that particular meeting, they had also written and indicated and clarified that if you do not, actually in the meeting they said, Bwana Obonyo said, the consequence of not implementing the directive, and I'm just giving the ministry view, I'm not saying that this is what will happen because members also have to consider that, is that if you do not implement the directive, then the ministry has a right to withdraw your license. So if they withdraw your license, we know what the consequence of that is. There is also a possibility that you could get into additional conversations. But a withdrawal of a license, or suspension of a license, it is under the regulation. I need to find the correct reference, and maybe the CEO can just help me with that because we had deliberated this in the past. and I've just come in, so I don't have my previous notes. But it is in the regulation that if you do not comply, because we were looking at what the obligations and the duties of the board are, because we said we represent members, because you vote for the directors to come and execute on behalf in the Sacco. Part of what we have to do is also to just check that we are complying with the law. Now, if you don't comply with the law, I think under the SASRA regulations, then your license could be suspended. So Angela, if you could, or Eliud, if you could just check the specific one so that we can respond to Purity with the specific law. So that's why we are having this particular session. So it's so that you can ask as many questions. Then when it comes to the SGM, when you're taking a vote on the matter, you will have armed yourself with information that we can give you, and also additional information that you can also research on your own independently. And you can also consult with experts, legal experts or cooperative experts, etc., so that you make an informed decision at the time of the SGM. Now, so coming back to, so what do the benchmarks show us? Let me come to benchmarks. When we're looking at the benchmarks and considering for people who have walked the journey towards delegates, it is very clear that it is something that is not openly embraced, because there are lots of fears associated with it. There are cons, let me put it that way, is that previously as a member, I would come into the meeting as myself and make a vote as myself. Because remember, even when you're voting on a matter, it's a one-man, one-vote issue. What we are, by moving to delegates, your matters will be discussed in a zone. And then the delegate has to then progress and then represent that view at that level. So in that sense, when we're looking at it, we say it's not normally embraced openly, because there's a lot of education that is required so that people fully understand what their rights and obligations are before they can sign it off, and hence this meeting. Then the last comment I will make is on the SACCOs that are yet to go the delegates' way, and I'll ask the CEO or Eli to also chime in. The last time I had checked, it was Kimisitu, Mhasibu, Kona Sacco. I think for one of them they were in court, or two of them they were in court. Their members went to court to stop the process, but the SACCOs were already progressing with an AGM or an SGM to approve, to embrace, let me say, to transition to the delegate system. So that is why some of them, I think there was one or two who were still doing a lot of member engagements, so that they can come to an SGM before we close. I think I'll pause there, Chairman. I don't know if that then gives a bit of background. Then we can have a discussion with members and see how we can explain, give as much information so that we can get to the SGM with an informed constituency. Back to you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Marianne, for the heads up, and I think it was such an enlightenment that you've emphasized on some of the points and the directive, and I think through your discussion you were answering some of the questions which are being asked, and there are those ones which we are to give clarity on. So I will go through the questions which have been posted in the chat, and I will appoint either of my colleagues, including yourself, Marianne and Joseph, to at least respond to some of the questions. So some I'll take them as comments, some I'll take them as just, Now, the first one I'm seeing is from Orwa G. Someone going to run this meeting, or they be wasting our time? We got other things to do. Okay, I'll take that as a comment. I'll quickly jump. Joyce Gadigi, Joyce Gadigi was, okay, I think those are the early ones which were coming at the beginning of the meeting. Now, Wallace Njeru, he said, so it is not an optional system for us to approve. It is a directive. We will follow, but as members, we are being let none of right. I'll allow that on Marianne to comment. And then on the 5 Saccos, that's a question from Purity Kariuki. Marianne has given us the 5, but Angela will give us the other 5 who are still who have not transitioned, and give the reasons why they have not transitioned, and what is actually happening in the ecospace of the Sacco movement. Oroji, again, welcome your comment. I'm not sure when you say they have already made the decision. This is just PR. So I think you need clarity on who has made the decision and the PR person driving it. Now, Purity Karaoke. How many people attend an AGM today? Why are we being given this directive? What is the reason? We even don't know each other. So how do we appoint these delegates? If directive is not followed, what happens? So I'll allow George Wafula to handle that question or that comment on the chat. And then from Shali Muriungi, in companies we attend as shareholders who may be very many, yet here in our Sacco, we are being asked to elect people to represent us and our money. This directive doesn't make sense to me. I think I'll also allow George to expound on that. On another comment, or is it a question from Purity Karaoke? Is this directive anchored in any law? Even company AGMs are done with all people and they happen and there are no issues. I see no need for this. I smell a rat. Sorry. Now, this one will be the comments. You will receive feedback on that comment from Marianne, Joseph, myself, and even George will chip in. Joyce Gadigi is asking, is it a directive that can be challenged or being challenged by any of the Saccos or members? I'll tackle that. Patrick Mwanga, what are measures taken to select delegates? It has been said we are more than 5,000 members, yet we've less than 100 members in this meeting. What's the quorum? I think Marianne will also tackle that. Purity Karaoke, still on the law. I think you've quoted some sections of the law. That one, I'll again allow Marianne and Angela to work on responding. Benjamin Ouko is proposing on the delegates a minimum non-withdrawable deposits of 200K. I think that is what may form the meat if we are going that particular direction to decide on what is the minimum share capital. But the board has equally proposed as Joseph had presented. Orwa G, who came up with these figures? How did you guys arrive at the figures you're proposing? Orwa, I think you lose me again because you need to be specific on the figures that we are to discuss on. Is it the number of delegates? Is it the number of the size of the Sacco? Is it the age? I think you need to be very specific on that. And Joyce Kadigi, please also explain what defines the zones, their bases, and how one qualifies to be in the particular zones. I'll allow George to tackle that. And yeah, Blessed Jackie, this is a comment saying that seems that this is a done decision. Last time we had delegate meeting, majority of us, we gave our opinion as no. Still stands no. Yes, Jackie will welcome your comment, but allow us now to answer the questions which have been posted. So the first one, I think Marianne, you pick up what Wallace Njeru asked on whether it's so it is not an optional system for us to approve. It's a directive we will follow. Over to you.
Chairman, if I may ask again, the questions are very many, so I'm asking myself. Let me just look at the questions again, and then I'll try to respond to them. But Chairman, if you could just repeat the first question. Is that the one from Joyce Gadigi?
No, Wallace Njeru. So it is not an optional system for us to approve. It is a directive we will follow. But as members, we are being let know of right. Ama. So I think it's something maybe Wallace needs clarity on.
Okay, I'm just trying to find Wallace's question because I was going to the top. But so number one, Wallace, let me just try and understand, and maybe if I don't, then you can. I'll just find the question again, and then I'll try and answer any part that I may not have. Is that yes, it is a directive. But in implementing a directive, it is important because the decision rests with the members. The decision does not rest with the board, because we say the supremacy of the law starts with the Constitution. So even when we are amending bylaws, because how would a delegate system be amended? It can be amended only if we amend the bylaws, the current bylaws of the Sacco. Yeah, if we don't, then it means then the existing bylaws prevail. or they're amended but to do something else. So that's where we're coming from. We're saying it is a directive, but how it is signed off, even with the ministry in terms of evidence of compliance, it is in the form of an amended bylaw to change the form of governance and representation from one where a member represents himself to where a member is represented through a delegate. So that's why this process, wherever it has been amended, where there has been a transition from the general meeting to a delegates meeting, it follows an amendment of bylaws, and members have to be consulted and they have to sign it off, and it has to be minuted. So that's why we're running with this process. I just to check and ensure that everything is in line with the governance of Maisha Bora Sacco as well as the law. Then if I was to come back, Chair, from the top, and I'll ask that you kindly also just signal me if it's a question for someone else. Joyce Gadigi is asking whether we really have an option besides seeking an extension. So I think, as explained, we have sought extensions and the ministry has said we will not have another extension. So therefore, that's why we are presenting this particular proposal to say if members can consider the form of governance, which is the delegate system, and hence the number of delegates that have been presented as presented by Director Kiando, and the rights and obligations associated with that. And in terms of the proposal, we even said, even if, God willing, if members then sign off the delegate system in the SGM, what we will be engaging with the ministry on is a transition period, because it will not be perfect. One of the questions that someone has asked in the group, or a comment made, was that we do not even know each other. So how will we even get to know the delegates? So we will be asking for a transition period where we will have a system or a definition of the zones and an introduction of the people, because we also need to look at how many people will qualify to be delegates given the thresholds that have been proposed, how the elections will run in the zones, so that then a delegate can be appointed. So that's why that's where we are at, Joyce. And then, I've seen Wallace's question. So the comment that you made, it's not an optional system for us to approve. It's a directive we will follow, or we're just being made known. So it's not just an information session. So that is the bit that I wanted to understand, Wallace. It's not just an information session. It is an information session so that you understand your rights. And if you vote to go ahead with the delegate system, you vote from an informed standpoint. Because one of the things in the benchmarking sessions we had, we were made aware of, is that very many people, there's a lot of resistance, but a lot of it linked to, I will not be voting for myself. Some people may come and make the wrong decisions for me. Can I not just be the delegate? Why can't I be a delegate? So Wallace, it's important for you to understand, so that if you do qualify to be a delegate, then you can also offer yourself, you can opt in to become a delegate and be considered in the elections in a zone. So that is part of the education system. In the public sector, people say member sensitization. So for purity, I think I'll ask Angela if she can just comment, and I think maybe in the chat if you can just respond to that question so that we are clear which these 5 circles are. I was just trying to see if there's a comment, a response that has been given, but there's no response as yet. So Angela or Ellie, if you can respond to that question, so that the members can get to know what these 5 circles are, and they can also check what the status is for those 5 circles. Orwa, it's not a made decision. The board cannot take a decision on governance. So members have to take a decision. And I think I'll reiterate that it's not a PR exercise. it is an exercise where we are seeking to engage as many members as possible. One of the other comments that Purity made is how many people attend AGMs. I think in the last 2 AGMs, and I know this was a question that was directed towards Director Wafula, it has been about 2,000 members, but we are a Sacco that is more than 15,000 members. So, in fact, part of the challenge in the discussions we had with the ministry when initially members said no, they said, but you are already a delegate system. You have 2,000 people taking a decision for 5,000. Yeah? So why do we see it differently? So members tend not to attend the AGMs. I think members have had a lot of confidence. A number of them have had a lot of confidence in the management of the Sacco and the governance of the Sacco. So some of them do not attend the AGM, even where we have enabled members to attend virtually, like in the last AGM, we know we had people from the diaspora attending the AGM, but not all of them attended. There were, I think, less than 100 from the diaspora who attended the AGM, and yet we know there are many more. So that's why it's very important that we also try and see if members will get to be as engaged as they should be. And then number 2, in the benchmarking discussions, we had a number of members say it, even what they noticed in their circles is that even where members do attend the meeting, there are very few who speak in those meetings. They tend to be, so over 2,000, for instance, if you look at Maisha Bora, there are less than 50 who speak oftentimes, and the rest tend to just agree with them. Some reasons have been cited, such as we don't understand financial matters, etc. And if you look at how to close a part of the financial awareness, it means we have to do education in smaller cells, in smaller groups. So we need to try and see how we make sure that members understand how the money is being used, where it's being invested, what return they have. And then they should be challenging things like, why is share capital earning greater dividend than the member deposit, for example. So that sort of challenge is not coming through. And I'm not saying that is the takeout from this meeting, but it's just to say, look, members are not attending meetings. So one of the ways in which the ministry feels this can be cured is if people meet in smaller cells closer to where they are based. In companies, we attend as shareholders. We're being asked to...
Miriam?
Yes. Chairman?
I think we can let George respond to some of the queries which we had nominated him to respond.
Okay,
Yeah.
Chairman, I'm okay with that. Thank you.
Okay, so over to you, George. I'm good. Just talk.
Okay. So thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Marianne, because you've touched on some of the questions, and I'm very happy with the level of engagement in this call. And I think this is a level of engagement we would like to be having with the members, owners of the Sacco, so that we take the Sacco to greater heights. However, as has been already said by Marianne, you find about 2,000 members attend. But by the time we are making critical decisions, only 300 are in the room. Not even the 2,000. Because some come and they leave, come, register, and they leave. So it becomes a challenge. And at the moment, we are Sacco 17,000. So we have 300 people making critical decisions for 17,000 people. Now that is a challenge, because the 300 people who make decisions, they tend to be the same people, and out of the 300 you find perhaps 30 are the ones who are vocal, who keeps talking every now and then. So ideally, if you look at it, even the government directive aside, in terms of governance, there is need to have a more formal structure whereby all members are properly represented. in meetings. Yeah, and we are not saying that members' rights are being taken away. No, every member has a right to participate in meetings, and that includes being represented, so that your voice is still heard through a delegate in a formal, structured manner. That's what the delegates meeting will bring about, compared to what we are having now. And again, the smaller units will be meeting, the people are able to deliberate at length. You can imagine now, if all the 17,000 members were to show up, it means we have to take our GM to Nyayo Stadium or such a place to accommodate the numbers. So that we are lucky only 2,000 normally come, and the ones who remain to the end, about 300. So why the directive? I think that question has been answered to by Marianne already. But ideally, the commissioner can issue directives. Yeah, and those who recall, I think, when we started having executive orders, and some lawyers were challenging and saying, can executive orders be legally binding? Indeed, it was confirmed that commissioner can issue directive because they have the power to supervise the Saccos, and that's why I think it's been very categorical that since it's the licensing authority and the bylaws belong to the commissioner, he can suspend the license or he can suspend the bylaws. So he has those two tools that he can make use of if you are not to comply. So if not approved, I think I've already explained what happens. So those are the conditions. And the commissioner himself came and told us during the AGM, because we were there, and this matter was still being discussed at that point. So I think that had been asked by Purity. And then the question from Charlene on why corporate people, AGMs happen, all shareholders attend company AGMs. Indeed, that is true. Yeah, but again, even for companies, not all shareholders show up. Only a few people show up and they make decisions. Now, the difference for corporates is because for corporates, it's one share, one vote. So even if 10 people show up and the majority shareholders, it doesn't matter whether the others attend or not. So you find, even if you don't attend, because you have small shareholding, the majority who attend, they're able to carry the day. But for Sacco, it's different. It's one member, one vote. So it's important that you are represented in a structured manner, or you represent yourself. So at the moment, the numbers coming to the AGMs are not representative of the voice we should be having on the table in our meetings. And that calls for us to have a structured manner of making sure the people who come represent the entire Sacco in a structured manner. That's why we are going this route. And also for corporates, they are governed by the Articles of Association, because every company decides what to do. They have their organs, so the Articles of Association guides what they do. For us, is the bylaws. And the bylaws, as I've already mentioned, belong to the commissioner, who is saying if we don't adopt the delegate system, he'll suspend the bylaws. Because at the moment, the bylaws talk of annual general meeting. And this is what we are discussing at the moment to educate our members, so that we make informed decision when we bring up the motions in the SGMs. Then there's a question around zones from Joyce, how one qualifies. Now, for zones, I know in Nairobi we have a challenge, because those who are still employed and they're in check-off stations, those will become zones, like the people in Unilever, the people in Flora Foods, people in Mata, trade centers. Those ones will be zones because they're all working in one place. For the others who are not on checkups, they'll become a zone, which we are calling SME for now. Yeah. However, since we'll be having a transitional period to make sure that we do proper clustering of our members, at the moment the SME cluster will be one cluster, and we'll come up with the criteria. The criteria we've been taken through, or minimum deposits and the qualifications, of how one would qualify. But ideally, everyone will be a member of a zone, either in the SME cluster or in the Chekhov cluster. For the Chekhovs, yes, they know each other because they work together. For us here, yes, we admit we have some work to do, but for now that will be one zone. And again, I believe in that SME, majority of the people, 50% know each other, because most of them are people who've been working together before, either in Unilever or other places. And indeed, if they've been coming for AGMs, they already know each other. Then there was a question from Orwa on who came up with the figures you're proposing. Now, the board came up with the figure because I believe as members, you've given the board a mandate, and we had to come back to our members with something. Yes, this is a consultative meeting. You have a right to propose, but we could not come up here with nothing, because the figures we are proposing are informed by the need to make sure the people who become delegates are people who have commitment in the Sacco, people who have stake in the Sacco, people who will make sure the Sacco succeed. Yeah, because we are 17,000 members. Sacco now has grown. We are over 7 billion in terms of asset base. Yeah, so that informed some of the figures that you are seeing as proposing here. But again, that is a proposal from the board. You as members, you have a right. You can also be able to tell us what you want us to consider. That's why this consultation is going on. But I believe as a board, we have that responsibility also to be able to signal the direction to our members, because we've been given that role of oversight by our members. Then also in terms of zones purity, I think you asked as well, diaspora will become another zone, because we are thinking of, there are so many diaspora members, I think about 500. They're not well represented in our AGMs. So we are thinking of how we cluster so that diaspora becomes a zone. People within diaspora will get delegates whom they will present them in meetings and so on and so forth. So we still have work to do around clustering the SME cluster, because it's not homogeneous at the moment, but we'll take that as one zone at the moment, and we'll be able to get delegates among that group who will represent them for now. So I think those are the questions that were assigned to me. So unless, have I left anything else? I think I've covered most of them.
Okay, thanks, George. Thanks for the responses. I'll allow people to raise their hand so that we unmute them. If you have a question you want to ask, so that the rest of the plenary can hear you, and then we pick it up. We are still trying to coalesce all these questions or the comments which have been put on the chat. So before we are done, I think I'll allow for 2 people to ask, and I'm seeing Abraham Machuki. Abraham Machuki.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I hope you are doing well. Just following through the discussion, what I'm gathering from the discussion is that, the leadership, the board, yourselves, you are so inclined to the delegate system, and some of the reasons that you are supporting it, you've mentioned, is that there has been quite low participation in terms of the rest of the members. Consider comparing the percentage of the people who turn up for the AGMs and other important meetings compared to the membership, it's a bit low. But my question could be, so is this your original idea, or why have you suddenly realized that the participation has been low when no one has complained about it? And then have we explored other additional ways of making the meetings easy to attend? For example, if you can remember, about 2 years ago, there was a big debate about whether to have the meetings on Saturday or have them on Sunday, because some argued that if we put them on Saturday, those who are busy on Saturday or want to go on Saturday cannot attend. if we put them on Sunday, the other way around. But we also factoring in those cases because 2 years back the meeting used to happen on Sundays, and now in the past 2 years we've had them on Saturday. Have we also factored in the fact that when the meetings are set on either day when people are going for worship, that some people miss because that day does not work? And are we able to have other ideas on how we can enhance participation? Like can we be able to have the agenda and we open them for a voting period, say like maybe 2 or 3 days, and we get to vote about them without necessarily locking out people from voting? Because really it's one thing to say that the members who are participating in the meetings are few versus outright cutting the right of members who want to participate in voting on important matters regarding their investments and their vested interest in the Sacco. Those are two different things, and we need to put those aside and demystify them as such. If we are addressing the problem of low attendance and probably the problem with quorum, and later that our decisions could be questioned, we can handle that separately. But trying to mix those with the delegate system, I don't think that brings out the essence of what we are discussing, because what we are discussing is there a way in which the members can be able to retain their rights to participate and to make their voice heard without necessarily ballooning the overhead costs, say facilitation or venue size and all that? Can we embrace technology even on this, even as we've done on other areas like the mobile banking and all that? Yeah, that could be my submission.
Okay, thank you, Abraham Machuki. I've seen now 3 hands are pending. That is Purity, Nelly, and Wallace Njeru. So maybe I'll start off with Nelly Ashubwe.
Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me. I'm Nelly Ashubwe. I am just curious whether the management of our Sacco is in a position to know what mischief the government is trying to cure or to deal with by introducing the delegate system. I may have missed some things because I didn't join from the beginning, but from where I sit and or stand, I also want to imagine that maybe our management were part of the people that were taken through the public participation process for this thing to be pushed in the throats of members of a Sacco who work so hard to save their money in a Sacco. What is the mischief? What is government trying to cure? What did it come across that they thought if we bring about the delegate system, it's gonna resolve another issue? Number 2, I've heard about how zoning is going to be done. I don't know whether I missed a meeting where those discussions took place. Were members of this Sacco maybe floated with some kind of questionnaire to suggest or to know how management is going to come up with the zoning system? I don't know. Thank you. Those are my questions.
Okay, very strong words from Nelly Ashubwe. I want to assure you that I cannot speak on behalf of government to know if there's any mischief behind it. But anyway, we'll try to demystify your questions. Now, I'll allow Wallace Njeru to ask. And Wallace, I think there are some questions you have equally typed on the chat box. So,
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Where are we getting background feedback? Sorry?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Wallace.
Okay. So, hi everyone. So my question is quite simple. My first question is a rejoinder on Nelly's question. And I think the point of this meeting is a point of information. And you've given us details involving how you'll do the actual subdivision of the zoning bit. And I would love to hear the cons too, because it's part of the information that we require. We need to know what are the specific cons that we are getting ourselves into. Although, as you said, it's a directive that has been issued. And equally, I would also love to get back to you on your proposals And one of the proposals was that for one to be elected, they have to have been within the Sacco for 5 years. Now, if you look at the past, say, 4 years, we've had quite a spike in our membership. So does it mean that that group of membership will have to be represented by the older members? Those are my questions.
Okay, thanks, Wallace. I think what you've just suggested may be one of the cons that you have identified in the system, where if we have new membership, I think it will take time to get a delegate to represent them. But I think it's food for thought. So, but we'll still answer the rest of your questions. Finally, Purity Karaoke, maybe you can go now. Unmute, Purity.
I think I've asked so many questions. I think my concern, first of all, about this board that is in this room is that you guys have already bought into this delegate, whatever it is, based on the way you're pushing, the way you're answering questions. Everything is about we will do this, we will do that, and trying to find ways why this is a good system. As a board, you are supposed to represent us as members. That is why we elect you. And you need to be also telling us why it is. In fact, none of you says it takes away the rights of individual members, whether they have 2,000 or 10 million, the ability to vote. You need to be educating us on what that means. That means if I don't go to the Sacco today, and I've been a member of this Sacco since 1996, I have never attended any AGM. I have never complained about the decisions that are made. I have made a conscious decision never to go for those AGMs because I know I can go if I want. And if I have an issue, I can raise it. But this, for me, is really dangerous. You are not telling us why the government first is coming to push, and including, actually, as you have said, coercing withdrawal licenses. What is so important that you can withdraw a license because I have not gone to a delegate system? Already for me, the fact that you're even using those kind of words and coercion tells me there is something very wrong. And what you need to be telling us as a board and call a meeting is that, guys, if we say no as a board, let's go to court. Other circles have gone to court. Why can't we go to court? It is an infringement of an individual right who is a member of a circle to tell them they cannot vote. You need to actually be fighting also for the people who are the majority, who voted in the last AGM against this thing. But the board today is here trying to really, whatever it takes, these are the good things. You never come for AGM. I don't. I have a lot of money in that circle. I have never come. I have trust in whatever decisions are made by the 220 people that talk. But removing that makes me very suspicious, makes me actually feel unsafe about my circle. The fact that tomorrow I can decide to come for an AGM actually keeps me asleep at night, that I can come if I want. But this idea of people, first of all, it's expensive, it takes too much time, doesn't add. These people are then going to be given, I don't know what money is for attending whatever meetings. No, guys, no. It is not, I have not had anything that has told me this is the reason, this is the problem, this is the solution. Right now, the problems you guys are trying to push is that we never talk. We have never complained about not talking. You have said we never come for AGMs. Yes, we don't, but we've made that choice. That is why, as human beings and the Constitution, that is the supreme law, gives people the choice to decide whether they want to come or they don't. You can't tell me no for not deciding to come. I have never complained you made a wrong decision in the AGM because I chose not to come. But this idea, no, guys. Stop pushing it and come back to us with why the board...
Was muted. Mute. Okay, so
her connection has gone.
Her what?
Her connection, maybe.
Okay, maybe she'll reject, but I'm still saying she's on the call.
Yeah.
Okay, those are very heavy punchlines from Purity in as far as drawing a divide. But I'd like to remind you, Purity, that the board is also part of the membership of the Sacco, and just like you are, and we all are within we have the same common goals in as far as trying to make it big for us, or work for us within the Sacco. So now, I'll go back to the chat box, and
Chairman, Chairman, if I may, if I can just give some clarification on the point that Purity has raised. because she's used very strong words, and it's important that we also clarify what the board is doing. The board is not pushing for an agenda. The board does not have an agenda. Actually, the responsibility of the board, it's very important for everyone to understand that you've elected the board to serve the membership in line with what the membership desires. This is also defined in the bylaws. So I like to go back to the law, because if you look at the regulation, one of our fiduciary responsibilities includes complying with the law. Now, if you look at SASRA guidelines, I'll ask you all to just go back and look at the SASRA guidelines. When can SASRA impose sanctions against the board, against the Sacco? It includes for failure to comply with the regulatory directive. So what we are just trying to do, and it's important that everybody understands us this way. The board, as at individual level, we may have very different views. But the board, with the fiduciary responsibility, we have an obligation to come and present to you and say, this is what the ministry has said, has asked us to do. This is a directive. It's a directive nonetheless. If you don't comply with the directive, this is what could happen to the Sacco. We're not saying that if members choose not to comply with the directive, then they will consider the options, and that is also fine, because we say, and as Chairman has said, we are also members. But if you look at the regulations, because oftentimes you say we are audited by SASRA, and we were inspected by SASRA last year, and we will be inspected again just because we are part of the circles that have not complied with the regulation. Yeah, and maybe they'll be stricter now, maybe more punitive. But part of it is to say it is for failure to comply with regulations. So we also don't want for the Sacco to fall on the wrong side where a license is withdrawn. When a license is withdrawn, it also means that you cannot lend, we cannot receive your deposits, we cannot, everything stands still until the issue is resolved. So that's where we are coming from. We're giving as much information as possible so that the membership can take a decision. Now, if you look at other circles, and I can see there's a conversation here around going to court, we said the person of the Sacco, remains as is. These other circles, if you look at them, it is individual members who went to court. It is not the Sacco as an institution that went to court, because for the Sacco to go to court, it means the members must pass a resolution in an AGM that this matter then progresses to court. So, Chairman, it's just important to clarify that we are not pushing anything down anybody's throat. We are just doing an engagement so that members, come the SGM, you will make the final call on this. And we will also be able to demonstrate to the regulator that we've done the engagements with the members, and members have made a decision based on the engagements, and they took an informed decision nonetheless. Back to you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Marianne. I think one burning question which has been raised by Wallace Njeru is the cons of the delegate system. One of the major disenfranchisement of the delegate system is the layers of maybe say admin. For example, if you want to reach to me or contact me as a person, you'll have to reach to the delegate and now get to me. Some members feel attached to the leadership of a particular institution, and the delegate system more or less appears to take it away. But for us here, we are still leaving the power to decide with the membership. For example, if we want to make a huge investment, or if we want to change something which has been anchored by bylaws which we have previously set, we'll still go back to the membership. Doesn't mean that it will be the delegates who will make these decisions. I think I'll also allow Joseph and Marianne, if you have any other disadvantages or the cons of the delegate system, so that at least we are able to make some, see some rationale within both systems.
Yeah, Chairman, if I can just emphasize that point, and I'll allow Joseph then to come in. So yes, there are disadvantages. There are cons. Members will have less direct participation, which is what the chairman has spoken to. There is risk of delegates becoming a power circle. We've seen that in some circles. In fact, in some of the part of the conversations we had with the ministry, we said, and maybe that will speak to, there's a question which was asked by a lady, Nelly Ashubwa. What is the ministry trying to cure? At some point, there was that discussion to say what is the ministry trying to cure, and its failures in some of the very big circles, and that's why they landed on the number, the threshold of 5,000. But even in those circles, I know when we had discussions with them, there is still risk that delegates become very powerful and things run amok with those delegates. So that's why it's very important as you consider the delegate system, or even not the standard system, the current system, to ask yourself, what is the governance of the Sacco? What do we need to enhance? And for us as a board, it was one of the things we had called out. We said part of the transition instruments will need to be in place, and members will need to sign off on those transition instruments. It's what's a delegate's policy. How do you recall a delegate? So there are things and tools through which someone will need to be able to do that. So beyond the term limits, the selection, the recall provisions, the code of conduct, accountability, and what are the rights of the members in terms of the big decisions that would need to be made. So that becomes one of the cons. And the representation may not always be perfect. So you may not always have the right groups sitting in the delegate system, because it's a voting, anyway, currently it's still a voting exercise. And that's why for us we said, can we have reserve lots for certain groups, and those groups may need to be discussed, will need to be discussed with members, and they may change depending on what the needs of a circle is. Currently we said, can you have some youth, women, but then there's something else I think that Wallace has already called out. So I think, Chairman, with that, maybe Director Kiando can also build on the cons.
Okay, yeah. Joseph, maybe you can build on them.
Thank you very much. With the fear of repetition is a lack of that direct member voice. That's a bigger one. The other one is some delegates can capture boards. And to avoid that, the membership must elect people of integrity that they do in the board. So the same yardstick, and that is one of the reasons and explanations why the board was suggested. Also the share capital and how the member standing is. That is to ensure that nobody can then be swayed easily. Those are the two major cons. In terms of influence from government, I think we can give assurance that there is no way government can take our money. Our money is invested already. It is with people as loans or invested in interest earning vehicles. There is no way we can have access, and to protect that there can be any, even if you have whoever is in the board, we have put a clause that big decisions must be made by members. So should we have a need to change the bylaws, delegates cannot do that. Should we need to do big investments, there is no way delegates again with the board can do that. It will be prerogative of members. And particularly during the transition period, the first 3 years, we will put it, or we propose it to members that there should be one member meeting, additional to the proposed special general meeting. We should have another one within 3 years, within which member will say, is this thing working for us? What can be panel bid? And how can we cost collect? So that is what, as a board, we have tried to do. So are we working with government? I think we are not. We don't even know why the government wants so much to change, except the fact that some of the big SACCOs have performed badly, and therefore they feel if there is a bigger number or fewer people, bigger in terms of not only the board alone, their delegates, and smaller number such that it's very easy to hold accountable the people who make those decisions. So that is what I can add, the chair and members. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Joseph. The last comment I think I'm seeing on my screen is from Joyce Gadigi, talking to us. How do we comply with a directive that has been halted? If members don't want it, we can pass a resolution in an SGM for the Sacco board to push back, and if need be, go to court. I think Mariana's clarified this. The people who have actually gone to court and the current status of the directive. No Sacco has gone to court as an institution. It is actually the individual members who have gone to court to try and wait. And I think the hearing, or is it the mention, will be in September. I think either first week or second week. I need to get my second week of September. And once we get that, I think that's where we'll see. However, we have to be cognizant of the fact that the commissioner is actually within mandate to actually give us such a directive, and we're operating within his sphere. I've seen even some comments here saying that if we are blindly told to go a particular way, will we go that particular way? As a board, we are responsible. We are very responsible in as far as our dealings are concerned, and we are very open. We would have easily, or we would have maybe done away with, or done with this delegate system and just wake up and try and push it. But the nature that we are consulting with you, the membership, we are trying to basically see the rationale and get to a consensus to see how our Sacco will actually wade through the current regulatory environment. Remember, Saccos, just like banks, are within a very highly regulatory space. SASRA regulates us, and the Cooperative Ministry regulates us, not forgetting the Kenya Revenue Authority, which also influences some of the taxes that we pay. If we are outside that particular Sacco space, we may also welcome some other forms of regulation. Like say, I saw a comment that somebody said we can go the self-help group way. I'm not sure about the regulation in that particular space. I'm not sure if members go rogue in self-help groups, how they'll be dealt with. But for the Sacco space, SASRA is a watchdog. You members, again, are equally stronger watchdogs in as far as our conduct and our business is concerned. So I think let's approach this directive with all openness. Let's look at it and see the cons and pros. And for us, I think we also saw the cons, and we try to address the cons by giving you the nature of delegates that we want to actually be part of the board. And I think the presentation that has been shared will equally be sent to you, so that at least we can interrogate it and look at it and see how, where any points of additions that you can put in. Now, I'll allow maybe 2 or 3 more. Purity, you dropped off. I don't know whether the technical hitch was from your end. But as Purity speaks, Purity Kariuki speaks, I'll allow maybe 3 more hands. If you have a burning question, you can raise, so that at least we can hear your voice. But for now, Purity, maybe where you dropped off, you can start.
Hello.
Hi.
Have you had, okay, so am I allowed to talk now?
No, please go ahead.
I think for me, what I would like the board to do is to also at this AGM consider or start doing some homework around. If the membership says no, then what happens next? Because from, I'm not saying I know, but from what I'm seeing on the comments and what people are saying here, clearly a lot of the membership does not want to go this route for various reasons. And I think as a board, what I would like to see is you guys coming and saying, okay, if people say no at the AGM, and you demonstrate to the regulator, whoever, commissioner, that you have done the necessary education, whatever, and the membership still says no, what are our other options? Because at the moment, I think, I feel like the board is hoping, let me say hoping for the account of this, is hoping that they have given us enough education for us to say yes to this directive. But I can assure you, as I sit now, please look at the possibility that the membership is not going to buy into this story, and then tell us, okay, what are the options that we will have after that? Because you can't wait for that day when you try to get us to vote yes, and then now look at what are the alternatives. Just keep that possibility, because I don't think, as I speak now, and I've sat through this meeting and listened, I have had any reasons why this thing is being pushed, apart from the ministry has given a directive and has kind of threatened to take away the license. So for me, that is not a reason. I think in a society, if you are in a place where you've removed your money, you need to make a decision based on what you want for yourselves. And I think as a Sacco, we need to be thinking about, okay, if these people don't vote yes, what happens? That is, I think, my final comment. And I hope that we will see a more pro-people approach from the board, not pro-directive from whoever it is. Because I have not been convinced in this session, at least me, that there is any reason, apart from a sinister reason, which I can't say what it is, for this push. That's my comment. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Purity. I think your comments have been received. Sometimes I think also, as you comment, think of the board as persons like you, and persons who are members of the Sacco, who are equally affected with some of the regulatory space that we face. So I feel to some point that you are driving some element that the board is a bit playing the game, or playing the card of mischief. But that is something I want to assure you, that we are not playing in that particular space. Now, any other, I'm not seeing any hands raised up. Okay, I can see Catherine Cephas. Maybe the next person.
Okay, can I go? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Catherine, you can go.
Fantastic. So thanks for taking us through this. I appreciate. And I have two concerns. The first one is this delegate system. What happens if one wants to take a loan off the portal, or off the just the normal way you'd want to take a loan? What's the procedure? Number two, agreeing with the rest of my colleagues, and at one time in the good book, Esther was told by Mordecai to go and speak on behalf of the Jews, and the comments were, you either do it or you and your father's family are going to perish. So from us as members, our able board, would you kindly, as you have your meetings with the ministry, let them know that the members are not for this thing, and we also are members with our own right. I like the way it's come out clearly, even as comments from Marianne. We also have a right to say no or yes. We are adults that are citizens of this nation and cannot be forced into something. And then you've also mentioned that the Sacco, none of the Sacco has gone to the court as an entity. And if we have an SGM and we empower you, our board, to go to the court on our behalf, would you stand in the gap and speak like Esther and take the courage and do it? We'll be there to support you. Because friends, this is Kenya, and we know why and what basically probably would happen to such a thing. So those are my two comments, Mr. Chair, and thanks for giving me airtime.
Thank you, Catherine, and it's good to hear you after a very long time. Hope to see you during this SGM. I saw Phyllis Irungu raising her hand. Unmute Phyllis.
Hello?
Yes, Phyllis, we can hear you.
Oh, you can, yeah. Mine is a very simple question, or rather a straightforward question. So is there an option? Because from what I'm hearing, it's like it's either the delegate system or the delegate system. So is there an option? Do we have an option? And I think that's even what everybody's trying to ask, but it's just not coming out clearly to me whether there is any other option. Question number 2 is, if they suspend our license, it's until when? Until we comply, or until they reverse the decision, or what? Yeah, so it's until when? Thanks.
Okay, lastly, I can see Maina Morioki, or Morioki Maina. Maybe you can ask and then we answer.
Good evening. Someone confirm you can hear me?
Okay, you're a bit faint. Maybe you can.
Any better now?
Okay, just try. If I lose you, I'll let you know.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Chair, and the board, and all our representatives for the opportunity. I think, without also wanting to repeat what has already been said, money is an emotive subject, and I think we can all appreciate that the tempers are a bit high because of how much we put into working for what we have put aside. And the Sacco has been a trusted vehicle for investment all this time by Kenyans, and it's probably one of the last strands of Ubuntu, if we call it, and ourselves, like knowing we self-govern. So even to the board, the chair, Miriam, I know you've really put in work to try and expound on this very emotive subject, and just to appreciate that. Like most of the members, I'm also not happy about this, but it's also good to also take time to appreciate the work that you guys have done. I think the question remains, which has been asked in so many ways, but you as the board, I know you all have your personal opinions and everything, and you also have the capacity that you need to govern and make decisions on behalf of the Sacco, and it is well noted, as Marianne has said so many times, about the fact that this is a directive. I think what the members are just saying is you are our representatives, and even as we look at all the options, at the end of the day, what me and every other person is looking at is to feel represented, come what may. So I think as one of the last people who have spoken has just said that even if it gets to the point where we are in direct contradiction of this directive, I think all the members want to feel is we are heard, and more than that, that our board as our representatives are also geared towards bringing the result that we have chosen, being very aware, given you guys have taken so much time to educate us. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, sir. Maybe just to reiterate for Catherine, you're asking about the loan procedure and whether it will be affected. Operations at the Sacco will remain as is. The same guarantor model, the same collateral model, and the same loaning processes will just be the same. Please note that this directive is as far as how our annual general meetings are conducted and how we will be governed during those particular meetings. But as far as the rest of the operations are concerned, be it credit, be it finance, be it audit and risk, I think those are areas which will still remain the same. Nothing much will change in that particular space. And for the options that we have and the impact of the license suspension, basically if your license is suspended, you cannot operate as a Sacco. And I don't think anybody will want to work without or will trust a financial institution without a license. But I'll allow also Marianne maybe to reiterate on the options that we have if we go the no route. And again, maybe if there may be some add-ons from Joseph on this particular ask that has been asked by, I think it was Phyllis Irungu, yeah.
Yeah, Chairman, you're asking me to deliberate on the options. I was going to say we would take that as an work to be done by the board, because what Purity also guided on is quite pertinent, that should we go to the SGM and the members vote no, we also need to have the options ready. And that's something I would offer that we deliberate as a board and then present maybe in the next virtual session, which will be in 2 days' time. However, if you look at the other SACCOs, and I know Joyce Gadigi had asked how do we comply with the directive that has been halted. That directive that was halted was because Tower Sacco went to court. Members of Tower Sacco went to court, and therefore the ministry halted the implementation of that directive on Tower Sacco, because it's in law, it's very specific. So when the court issues its opinion, it gives its opinion, it's on the matter presented before it, and which is in terms of implementation on Tower Sacco. I think one of the other SACCOs, I believe it's Kimisitu was going to progress the SGM, and what the members did is that they stopped the SGM, and therefore the court suspended the progression of the SGM. It's not the implementation of a directive, and therefore that created a bit of, I think, confusion or a gray area in terms of interpreting the law. So it's something that that members of, I think, of the board and some other members of Kimisitu were also considering, to say, when you stop us from having the SGM, what happens? Because any other meeting or a general meeting, actually it's a general meeting, how do you run the affairs of a Sacco? Because even if it's not just the delegates, then you will still need to have a general meeting to discuss any other agenda. So when we had some consultative meetings, I know some members asked whether this was something that the board can do. We said the board, which is the instrument through which we operate, run the Sacco, can do this if members in an AGM or an SGM then give that vote. So then at that point, it can be now from the conversations in terms of what the plan B could be or would be. So that's why, Chairman, I would request that we also just deliberate, and I would also invite members to give proposals in terms of how we move forwards post this issue, because there is one other member, I think it's Moriuki or someone who asked, it's not Moriuki, it's Catherine, who asked what's the effect of a suspension and for how long do you suffer suspension? I think the law is not clear. If you go and read the regulations, it's not clear how long as an institution can be suspended, but it is suspended for as long as it is not compliant. Now for us, then if you look at it, we would need to have a legal opinion on such matters, because ideally when the Sacco looked at that, we said we don't want to get into a suspension status, because whichever way you look at it, it will cause some major disruption for our members. So if you're not getting into a suspension, what are the other alternatives that we would be putting on the table, or that could be presented on the table by members for consideration, so that we move forward? Chairman, that's my view, but this is my view also just on the spot. Yeah, it's not something we have workshopped as a board.
Okay. Maybe I'll allow maybe George to say something.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. So perhaps just to weigh in on the conversation so that we are on the same page with members. So this is a consultative forum, and we cannot make resolutions in this forum. I think that's one is important for us to note. So I think we are just about 100 members. We're invited, we're expecting over 1,000, We're expecting over 1,000 members in this forum. Only 100 are here. So these are consultative forums. I think we've heard your views, and we'll continue gathering views from other members. Because remember, we are 17,000. Sacco is 17,000. So all the members have to to voice their concerns on whether they want delegate system or not. Now, having said that, there is a reason why you've not seen any Sacco going to court, and it's the individual members going to court. Yeah, because if I remember, I think the commissioner told us we cannot spend Sacco money on legal fees pursuing this matter, which is a directive. I think within the regulations, there's a technicality. Sacco cannot spend money. Yeah? That's why you're seeing the Sacco that have gone to court is individual members going to court. Yeah, so I think that is something else you need to bear in mind, and that's why no Sacco has gone to court as an institution. So we'll have our SGM and members will decide. So that is member rights. Whatever members decide, that will carry the day. Whatever members decide. But of course, for us as a board, I think we have a responsibility to enlighten our members so that they know the consequences that we've been given by the ministry. And the commissioner has been very categorical. I think we've gone to the commissioner severally, tried various options, but the members will decide. The Sacco belong to members, so members will make a decision. And again, it's not like the board, we are supporting government per se. We are also members, remember that. And we also heavily invested in the Sacco. So we want to see the Sacco succeed. So I think bear that in mind as well, so that you don't get the impression that the board wants to go a route that will jeopardize the institution. Yeah. So we want to see the Sacco succeed. Yeah. And in terms of the pros and cons, there are pros and cons for either system. If you look at it, even the AGM, some of the risks we've seen in delegate systems have also happened in AGMs. So what is critical is to make sure that our Sacco is governed well, whichever governance system members decide to take. Then I think a final one for me, as far as the delegate system I think goes, it's a matter of time. Because I'm aware, and I think you're all aware, there's legislation before Parliament. And that legislation has this directive that the commissioner is putting across. So he knows legally, yes, there could be challenges and the court is challenging, but it's a matter of time. So we have to be aware that yes, as we deliberate this, it's good to start thinking ahead. How do we want our Sacco to be governed and governed well? I think that's the bottom line. Because the matters we're discussing here about governance, and all of us want good governance for our Sacco. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thanks, George. Thanks, George, for that feedback. Well, lots of comments are pouring in. Some, I think most of them are like to support. Like I can see being asked we're being asked on the legal position of other Saccos. We're challenging here and there through the chat boxes. Somebody is saying that the chair, is so pro-government. At no point is he looking neutral. I think, Purity, we can have a cup of tea together, so at least we expound more on that. I see Samuel Gushu saying conclusions from members. 1, legal redress. 2, self-help group route, e.g. Caritas. 3, have the delegate system, but have the AGMs have 2 AGMs in a year for the next 3 years to approve the annual budget, plus review bylaws as we move to comply. Just as one of our speakers has said, only time is actually coming. As we continue growing, we'll find ourselves moving into that space for delegates and what have you. And I think the commissioner and also what is happening within Parliament and our good, beautiful country called Kenya is that legislation is coming in place which will actually make it more interesting, make the laws, the anchoring laws guide how SACCOs are structured. The other comments I can see. Okay. Please get enjoined in that Tower Sacco case. Get a legal opinion on this, please, in case of suspension. Surely, if members vote no, then it means the regulator is punishing a decision to the Sacco of the Sacco at an AGM. Then what is the point of the AGM? I think before we even settle down on these presentations, we had as many legal opinions just to try and understand, or including understanding the powers of the commissioner, which is under the Cooperative Societies Act, Cap 490. And one of his powers, Section 3, Section 8, Clause 3A, is the maximum he can cancel and withdraw a society's bylaw, Section 8. And those are the powers within his realm. So let's be aware that also the commissioner, being a government employee, he can remove those bylaws. What I think Marianne has said is that now when we come to voting, we'll aptly put down the consequences of not complying. And now from then on, I think we'll make a decision. I can see again more charts. Samson Cherop, indeed, Tower Sacco as an entity sued and not individual members. Kimisito Sacco, it is individual members who sued. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think we started off in a consultative way, and I think we will need to pick up this conversation, I think, just before the SGM, just trying to coalesce all the points that you've raised and see how we can make it more clearer to the membership, to try and understand where we're coming from with this directive and where we intend to see the Sacco going. Remember, all the presenters who have presented have talked about the legacy and the heritage of this particular Sacco of ours. The background being members, people who used to work in Unilever with one common purpose, that is life improvement and the likes. So I'd like to urge that it is not a fight that we are getting into or want to get into, but it is bringing positives from a situation which we are not accustomed to. So obviously we are not accustomed to the delegate system, we are not accustomed to getting directives in as far as how we govern ourselves, but I always like to say that let us look at the positives out of all this. And the feedback that we have gotten from you, I'll maybe request, if time allows, we can have another consultative session where now we bring out the issues as you have put them and be able to address them adequately. Of course, we couldn't just make a conclusion during this particular session, and that's why we have been doing those consultative meetings. Unless there's anything else, Marianne, Joseph, you want to add? And then I'll allow my other directors, that is Simon Arunga and Vitalis Odwor, maybe just to say a hello, who are on the call. Annie Reri from Supervisory. So Marianne, you can go.
Chairman, nothing further from me apart from thanking members for the engagement. I think it's also what we intended out of this session, to get views that will also enable us to shape the conversation in the SGM, and also to shape the conversations that will translate into a strong future for the Sacco. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Simon, are you on the call? Or Joseph, are you still on the call?
I think I was unmuted, so I could not respond.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
I have not much to say because everything has been explained by our the members, the board members who spoke on our behalf. And I believe even the conclusions that have been made, we've heard the mind of the people. Therefore, just the way it has been concluded, we are together in it. But what we know, the board always will do anything that is going to help our members. Thank you.
Okay. Supervisory, I can see Anne Ireri on the call. Can I unmute Anne Ireri?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and good evening. board of directors, management, and members. My name is Annie Reri from the Supervisory Committee. We've had the engagement that has been going on, and we thank the members for hearing their views. Maybe what we can assure the members, especially from a supervisory point of view, we've seen the board, seen the first directive that came. We've seen the board try to go to the commissioner seeking the extension. We can say they've been working day and night to ensure that we get the best from the commissioner for this and for the members' interest. And also just to assure you once again, as the chair has mentioned, and I think fellow directors, is that even the directors have themselves invested quite a good amount of money in this, so they are at the forefront and they are equally feeling the same sentiments, and they're ensuring that we get the best out of it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, maybe your colleague Kenneth Muriuki, does he have any word to add?
Good evening, cooperators. My name is Kenneth Muriuki from Supervisory Committee. This evening, I thank all the members who availed themselves to get this information and the directive from the ministry. And I would like the members to make sure they learn more about the delegate system. They get the pro and the cons before we go for SGM, so that they can do informed voting. Thank you and have a good evening.
Okay, I don't want to forget my other directors. That's Janet, Vitalis, and Felix Maingi. In no particular order, you can go first. I think Janet, being my vice, maybe you can say something.
Thank you, Chairman, and good evening, members. My name is Janet Gadere, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Board. I would like to thank you all for taking the time and for sharing your views in this meeting. And I would like to ask you to encourage your friends who are members of the Sacco to attend these sessions. Like you had, we only got 100 today, and we were expecting 1,000. So would like to share as much information before the upcoming SGM. Thank you.
Okay, so Yolanda, the new director who joined us this year.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members, and I just want to thank you all for your participation. And we have heard your views, and would like to encourage you to encourage other members to also participate. And looking forward to meeting you in the next sessions. I serve in the Education Committee and Audits and Risk. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Joseph, I think, dropped off. Joseph Kiando. And Felix Mayengi, what device are you using? So at least maybe you can raise your hand and we allow you to speak. Also seeing Vitalis has dropped off. Is there? Or Vitalis?
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Mine is good evening, members. Thank you so much for accepting the invite to attend this session. That's been quite engaging. Mine is just to say that we are here, as the board, we are here to serve all members. And through this, we are going to have, we reach a common agreement so that at least you can be able to see what happens during the SGM. As it is, the board has not agreed to go through the delegation the way I've had security talking about and some of the members. All of us are here to serve the members, and it's for the intended good of the members' funds because you've given us the mandate to ensure that your funds are safe. And I'll still go back to Purity, like Purity has said, she has her money here and she has never come for the GM. That tells you what? She has the trust in the board. So, asante sana chairman, asante sana the members for coming in. And just like what the chairman has said, if time allows, we can have another engagement so that at least we get more constructive ideas on how to go through this year. Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Okay, so looks like Felix's device and Joseph Kiando's devices are offline. So I think, let me not take much of your time. It's 3 minutes past the hour. I want to sincerely thank all of you for attending this online session. Like I said, if time allows, we can have another round of discussions whereby we've coalesced all your points and see how to go about it. I think I've liked the engagement, I've liked the feedback, I've liked even the what do I call it? The maoni kwa mwenyekiti wenyu vile alivyo and to the board. I think that's something which equally sharpens us and makes us even run the institution much better. I want to assure you that this Sacco, we're not doing any monkey business with your finances. A Sacco which started in 1974, 52 years ago, I think we are not the board that wants to destroy it and take it to the drain. But we are actually considering all the options to make sure that everything works out as well as it is. And remember, we operate on a regulated environment. And in that particular space, it's either you comply or you're penalized or you either opt out from that particular environment. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll allow Simon Harunga to pray for us so that we close the meeting.
Chairman, I know it's bad manners to speak after the chairman, but members have asked for the date of the SGM. If that could also just be confirmed. Thank you.
Yeah, we are yet to firm up, but the notice may be out in the course of this week. Because, SGM will not only be discussing the delegates, but there are other matters of budget and other things which come about during that SGM. So I think we'll give the date, but probably we're looking at second, third week of September. But we'll let you know in due course. Okay? So Simon Arunga, you can be unmuted and then you pray for us. And we are very sorry we didn't start off with a prayer. And normally in Maisha Bora we start off meetings with prayers. But this time I think, let me take that apology and allow Simon to pray for us as we close. You've unmuted, Simon?
Okay, so let's pray. Almighty God, we come to you this moment as we are coming to the end of our meeting to thank you for your guidance that, Lord, we've deliberated on the issue at hand. And Lord, we ask for guidance from you, that you open our eyes of understanding, that we may be in the light because you are God of light. Lord, I pray that our Sacco will never go wrong because we always put you ahead of us. Father, as we go to rest, we pray for your purpose in our hearts. We pray, Jesus Christ, that everything that we've discussed here is going to end up peacefully and positively. We thank you because you are our Father, and it's in Jesus' name we pray believing. Amen.
Amen. Have a nice evening and say hello to your people for me.
Thank you. Good night.